All right, we're back for episode 8 of the Iowa Girls Wrestling Stories podcast. I'm sitting here with AAU National Director and State Director for Girls Wrestling, Jason Loyd. We're hanging out at the Shingle Creek Resort. It's one of the Rosen properties down in Orlando. We were poolside, but they turned the music up on us, so we came up to the room, and we're going to get this done. Got some really good information for you today. And well, let's just get started, Jason.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You bet. Um, you know, we've been doing this for quite a while, and you started Girls AAU Wrestling with a conversation with Wes Creason and Teresa. Uh, the first year of AAU State, what were your numbers like?
We had, I believe, 98 girls, so just under 100. At the time, it was the largest girls wrestling tournament in the state. That was coming out of the gate our first year. We helped other organizations get started and had our girls wrestling with them and tried to support that. And then my boys were heavily involved with AU, which is the largest wrestling organization in the state of Iowa. There's 13,000 kids with AU wrestling cards in Iowa. It's bigger than the coaches or high school associations. It's bigger than anything else. So I knew that plugging the girls into what my boys had and having that opportunity for the girls to wrestle in these events would blossom into what we've seen. I had a little like Ella Schmidt, little wild, messy hair girl looking up, wondering, why she didn't have events like this, and are they going to have a girls' day? She asked me in one of the practices, and I was like, you're right. You should have a girls' day,
Yeah.
And she was always tough enough to try to wrestle the boys, but she was right. It was the right thing to do. I didn't have a daughter necessarily that wrestled. I do have a wonderful daughter, but she didn't like wrestling. We talked too much wrestling around her.
Mine too. I have two daughters, and one was a manager, but neither one would wrestle. So,
I wanted to see for my female athletes the same opportunities that my boys got.
yeah, and it's worked out really well. We were Wells Fargo for a few years, and it kept growing and kept growing to the point where we didn't have mat space anymore. So well, 2 years ago, we made the switch to Cedar Rapids. So I'm talking about making that switch up to Cedar Rapids and how that's gone.
So the first change actually came with the K-second, the Super Pee Wee girls. There's a fantastic event in Waterloo, Super Pee Wee for the kindergarten, first, and second graders. I know those people very well. The Waverly people, they're awesome, awesome people. Roger Riggins is a good friend of mine. He helps me out all the time. He's the track wrestling Yoda and just very phenomenal people as well as the other members of that community. And they had approached me and said something about, hey, what do you think about us adding some girl division Super Pee Wee? I thought it was a fantastic idea. And we were running out of mat space already and had a crunch at Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
And so the first change we made was we moved those divisions to Super Pee Wee, and those divisions immediately started growing there. Well, then we started overrunning Wells Fargo Arena to where there just wasn't space.
Yeah.
So we took a chance, rolled the dice, and financed ourselves. Nobody else finances us. Just so folks know, that National AAU, Iowa AAU, they're not financing the opportunities we're delivering. The girls are self-sustaining, and they show up, and because of that, and they continue to show up and support, we're able to continue to grow. And so now this year, so first we had one day at this giant arena when we went out on our own, and we did it in one day, and we outgrew it in 1 year.
Yeah.
And so that was phenomenal. We had 12 mats, and we outgrew it in 1 year for one day. So then we rolled the dice again financially and supported for 2 days for the arena. And within 1 year, we outgrew it. It was I really didn't know what we were going to do, and
I remember getting the panic phone call. Oh God, we're at 12,000 registration. I don't know how we're going to do it. And so yeah, we had to shut the registration down last year. But everybody that contacted us got it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So no, Coach Grader's right. We knew about what we could hit, and so something I want to point out is our biggest jumps were when we took the girls out on their own. That's when we saw the largest gap. So we were around 400 girls for the years we were in with the boys. As soon as we went out on our own, we had 900, and then we went to 2 days, we hit 1,200. And so having these standalone events, these big venues, giving them a big stage feel. It's they've responded. They love it. They're doing well with it. So we did shut down registration. We had a limit listed on track. Some people didn't see it. You know, wrestling moms, I love you, but you're notorious for waiting for the last second to register. And so, yeah, you know it. And so, we had a lot of phone calls and stuff. So we didn't reopen registration. Instead, what I did is anyone who contacted us, we put out a spread, Google Doc. They were able to be listed, and then we found ways to, as we worked through the tournament, the nuts and bolts, we found ways, anyone who contacted us and signed up on the Google's Doc, we were able to get them into the tournament. So we ended up with 1,207 or 1,209 girls last year for 2 days in the arena. And then we had almost 300 at Super Pee Wee. And then, and we booked it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So we are making another expansion.
correct.
So we looked at it last year and say that's the convention side of it. And from the first year there, we had the awards area and part of that. So why don't you talk about the expanding out and what we're going to do there?
Jay Fonta is a rock star. Jay, I'm going to send this to you because you're a rock star. He's with the Cedar Rapids Tourist Board. He said, "Hey, you remember that awards area?" He's like, "We have two more rooms, and one of the rooms is twice the size of the other one." And I was like, "Please show me what are we talking about here?" So our group got together during the state tournament and all the chaos. Our Iowa Women's Wrestling Board got together and we toured that area to look it over, make sure it was going to work for the girls, going to nuts and bolts. And so now again, just like we popped and financed the arena for one day, then 2 days, we're now throwing the money down again, and we're renting out 27,000 square foot. That's their convention hall. It'll be if you remember from 2 years ago where we had the drapes that led from the arena floor over to the awards area. They're going to have that drape going from the arena floor to 3 rooms over in the convention side. And so the room that they had for the awards 2 years ago, we'll use for awards and keep open that the entire event. And then the 2 rooms next to it are 3 times its size, and we'll end up with 6 mats and about 500 to 800 seating. We'll run 2 sessions. And so that then we can make sure that it doesn't get overflowed with parents and athletes and everything. But this has now gone to an 18 mat event.
Yeah.
And over 2 days, it's wild. I don't know very many female tournaments that have 18 mats for an individual tournament running like this. That are standalone events. We're expecting 1,500 girls at least, probably. If we don't hit that number, I understand. That's fine. I encourage everybody, sign your athletes up, even if they're not going for a state title. Sign them up, give them the experience. They'll grow into it. How did my sons become champions? How did girls like Ella Schmidt or Tatum Park or Izzy Deeds become champions? Is we put them on the mat before they knew they were ready, and we built the confidence where they relax, they get used to it, and then Troy can probably validate this. When you're wrestling these younger girls at state events like the AAU Girls State on big stage events, when they hit high school, it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, Coralville is not. It's walking in there. It's not as big a thing. Most of the girls on my team that went state have wrestled the AAU state. They've been in the big events. It's just another place for them. So they don't have that initial shock of oh my God, there's a big crowd. I'm scared. There's oh my 8 mats. I've only wrestled on 2 mats. So there's not that initial shock. And I think that, well, if you've been around girls wrestling for more than a minute, you know that it doesn't really matter that wins and loss. They're going to make about 300 new friends,
Yep.
and just the social event alone is probably worth coming down for.
Yeah, and I want to clarify when you say that girls stayed at Corville, it's not.
Oh no, I'm not saying.
So
Yeah.
Aaron, you do a fantastic job. We love what you're doing. That event, the girls state event, is wonderful. In high school, I think what Coach Greer was pointing at is, like I said, it's not that big of a deal to them. There's not as much nerves because they're going to have nerves. They're going to have butterflies. Yeah. It's still state championship, for the girls union. But if they came up and they've they've taken losses and they've been okay, and they've wrestled for championships, and they're accustomed to these big stage events. It really does help them out. But yeah, so we're going to 18 mats. We'll have weigh-ins Friday. We'll have an early bird again. We're going to weigh in. I haven't determined where it's going to be at. I have a sit-down meeting with Cedar Rapids, so we will weigh in either in the convention side or on the arena floor before or after the mats go in. And so we're going to have a massive space for weigh-ins. The weigh-ins have always gone very well. Last year, for about 30 minutes, we had a little jam up in the awards area. Fortunately, I was able to get up there and get things straight out, flowing. But we shouldn't have that issue again because we're going back to that entire hall, and that's attached to the arena, that first C exhibit hall, if you look on the map. So we're going back there. It's a bigger space, bigger room, and there's a bigger flow area out to the front doors, like where the ticket office is.
Shouldn't be a bottleneck in there. It should just should go really easy.
We're coming back. We're throwing down the money again. We're dependent on the girls to show up, but we trust you, and anybody watching this, the girls always show up.
Yeah. No, it's been quite a ride, really, to see the expansion stuff. Part of our tournament is a qualifier for the National Scholastic Duels, which has moved, yes, from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale. But the girls who were on the trip last year are probably going to tell you that if they've been on the trip for more than 1 year, they're going to tell you Fort Lauderdale was quite an experience and just really cool to go to, because it's not just a wrestling tournament. It's 3 hard days of competition, 10 to 12 matches, but then you get a reward at the end of it. And our reward was we went to Disney. We spent a little bit of time out in the ocean. Okay, a lot of time out in the ocean. I was probably as prudent as I've ever been in my life. But yeah, and the resort we were at threw them a party. They brought a DJ in, so it was really cool. But as far as qualifier, we're gonna have some stuff set up in that award ceremony area. So we really want to make sure that people interested in going get their name on the list. If you're a top 3 person, we want to make sure you're qualified and going, because we got some big ideas coming from that.
I'm going to talk both real briefly, kind of hit 3 points here. The first one, we're going to talk about Scholastic Duels. I get emails, phone calls from coaches if you're listening to this. So we just got done with our EC meetings, executive committee meetings. We've now solidified and set the dates. They'll be June 25th through 28th. They'll be the second half of the Scholastic Duels for the girls division, and we'll have a girls progressive and girls all-star again. The rules for the progressive will change a little bit. No state place winners or top 4 state place winners this time. And the only reason they keep that in there is because some of the states are very small, so they might have an 8-girl bracket at state. Yep. And so you can't tell them, you can't bring nobody or just the really, really new girls. So we have it where it's 5th place or below for Scholastic or Progressive Division for Twin Rivers. We've adapted that. We've gotten rid of any place winners, I believe, at all.
Yeah, I think that's how.
And so that's Scholastic, and that we have Team Iowa. This is a qualifier, our AAU Girls State, and it's a qualifier for our Team Iowa for this travel team. And we're going to have more than just Scholastic duels. And I want to point this out because the concept is, some of these girls are wanting to travel to multiple events, get a lot of matches, and get this experience and stuff. So we're going to fund and support that, and we're going to try to keep teams of girls together. And so we're going to have signups for Team Iowa for Scholastic, but also we would like that to be the Team Iowa winning national titles, because Iowa versus Oklahoma at Twin Rivers, taking home the national title helps Iowa. It shows what we got. That you don't get any better than that. The year before, we took second in the high school national division because we had a lot of the best girls on that team as well. And so we took on Wisconsin. Wisconsin phenomenal with Joey Torres. That was a back and forth pin to pin battle of some of the best girls in the Midwest. And, that was phenomenal. So we're trying to want to keep that concept where if you want the better athletes, we're encouraging your club or whatever, you wrestle them for your club title for AAU Girls State. We're still going to reserve one spot. Listen, coaches, if you want a free trip to Florida with us, You get as many girls in your club to sign up. They're all point earners. If your team wins, you get to go to Florida for free and coach some of the best girls in the country, or from our state, and again, some of the best girls in the country. So anyways, so I understand like in Osage or East Buck or whatever wants to have some of their studs, but East Buck, for example, did a phenomenal job. They supported a girls development team or an all-star team based out of their club girls, and then kicked some of their state champs and such up to our top teams, and we won a national title. And that's better for those top athletes to have that run at a national title against that level of competition. It's better for us as a look for Iowa. And, we're winning national titles. You want to be, you want your athlete in that hunt if they're on that level. And at the same time, you want to support your club girls so that then, you're taking your club girls as a team, maybe the Twin Rivers, and supporting them. And they're getting that experience and they're getting that national big stage feel and they're getting those off-season, postseason matches. And so you can do both. You can do both. And, we can work in also, like, I just mentioned the winning club at AAU Girls State gets a free trip to Florida. So, like East Buck, they had a spot on our national team to Florida. And so for AAU Girls State, we're going to have this sign up. And last year, we did Twin Rivers, we did Scholastic Duels. That was almost 20 matches, 20 matches for a high level match for your athlete. And we had the top team Iowa girls going at it. And then we have a special invite just for us to the Indiana and Illinois Coaches Association because of contacts and friends that we have. And Gary Meyer, he's on the he's involved with the Indiana Coaches Association and does women's wrestling. And he's a good friend of ours and on the executive board. So there's been an all-star duel in Indiana and Illinois going back and forth for 25 years.
Yeah.
There were 10 college coaches in that round, and there was only one match on the boys' side and three matches on the girls' side. Your athlete gets seen by college coaches at this one all-star duel that's in a gym. It's not a big event as far as number of athletes, but it's like the state champs from Indiana. It's the state champs from Illinois. So we have an invite to this. We took a team last year. We got beat up a little bit, and that's all right. But we were not 10. Not only did the girls interact with college coaches there on the floor and talk to them, and they got to see them, we weren't 10 minutes down the road, and our juniors and seniors were being contacted by those college coaches. And like that was phenomenal to see because a lot of people want some of these events to be seen and to work into college programs and get that visualization of where they might want to go. And so to put those athletes right in front of those college coaches at this small little all-star duel that had all these one kid I know from Rock Island, Illinois, on the spot got an offer from a D1 program. And I won't use his name or the program because I don't know if it worked out. But I was standing there, and this kid from Rocky, coach comes up on the spot. Hey, I'd like to have you in my program. And it was because he just watched one match. I mean, I don't know any better exposure. So this travel team, we've already been developing. Now we're developing more events. So we're going to have Twin Rivers, we're going to take your athlete to. We're going to have Scholastic Duels, we're going to take your athlete to. If you're making, the top two or three teams, you're going to do, Twin Rivers and Scholastic for sure. If you're on the top team, we're going to try to shift you over to the All Star. And if one of the top team drops out, we'll go to the next one and then the next one to fill it. And so, not everybody will be able to go. Yeah. So there's still that opportunity for you to go. And then there always have been elementary duels in Tennessee. And so those numbers took a beating over COVID and never kind of popped back up. So Tennessee has made the decision to allow the elementary duels to come to Iowa with the boys, which is big. That's huge. With 13,000 members in Iowa, they're going to blow that up with elementary duels for the boys by adding that division. And then moving on along on their end in Tennessee, they're going to start a new event. It'll either be in Pennsylvania or Tennessee or Georgia, one of these three, in the southeastern area. and they're going to have East Coast duels or something like that. They're going to come up with a name, but they've already got people and solid folks plugged in, So they're going to add the divisions like to mirror what we do in Iowa, where they're going to have an elementary team, middle school team, junior, senior, fresh off for the boys. Then they're going to go a youth girls and a high school girls. So we will be looking to support that, and so that'll be fourth or fifth event that we're going to financially support the travel team. And anyone who's gone with us to Scholastic Duels knows we're not mom and dad just throwing stuff together and going on the fly. We are an organization. We are putting serious money behind these kids. Like we purchase contracts with Southwest. We purchase contracts, with buses or hotels or whatever it is because of our numbers and the financials we do and personal finances that we put in. Some of the stuff goes on my credit card. I'm the bank, and then they pay me back. It's fine, but like I personally finance and put my name on these contracts because the girls have never let me down. They need the opportunity, but we're going to travel these girls as an organization. So your kids are being coached by high school coaches, or they're and being supervised by high level people. It's not where they're just getting cut loose in a park or can get in trouble or any of these things. We have problems like anybody else with high school kids, but we're pretty quick to solve those problems.
Yeah, we have incredible coaching staff, really.
Yeah.
I mean, last year we took, Ali Jabrock, who does such a good job up at Cedar Falls, probably one of the best young coaches coming up. Casey Coles from Decorah went along with us and just did a phenomenal job. Decorah obviously does a great job, state champions. Yep, Adam Hale from Pella. He's already started the program at Newton, which is doing really well, and has just moved to Pella, and he's got that program rolling. We had Dan Stiefel. I always say it wrong, but from East Buck, and East Buck was number two.
Yeah.
So East Buck. We had Danny Ellsbury, who's been with us a couple years now. He was down there, with South Tama, and his daughters are phenomenal wrestlers.
Josh Park.
Yeah, Josh Park, Davenport.
His daughters were champs.
Oh yeah. So that's there. Shay Mickey, who assistant coach at Grandview. And is that everybody? I'm trying to go through.
Carrie O'Connor.
Oh yes, Carrie O'Connor from Mason City. Mason City's program for the girls is just phenomenal.
Well, just that whole area with Osage and everybody.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we really put together, I think, a really good staff, really good people, and I think the girls really respect that. And I can't think of anybody better to take than what we have. But we're always looking for better to take and find new opportunities for new coaches and things like that. So, and of course, we want to increase the female population in coaching also.
Yep.
That's really important.
We focus pretty hard on trying to develop those female coaches and give them a shot. So, because, Troy and I, he said it on one of his other podcasts, the girl doesn't want to be a fat 50-year-old guy. They want to be, like an Allie or a Tatum or Casey or
Shay.
Yep. They want to see. We need to see that leadership in the corner for the girls. Yeah. Not that we don't do a bad job, guys. You're rocking it. The girls wouldn't be there without you. I'm just telling you, thank you guys out there who helping women's wrestling. But we do have a heart for developing female leadership, and that
can go right into our next little topic there. Twin Rivers. We just now, before coming up here and doing this, we had the big to do the shake hands with Daryl Lauderdale, the national wrestling chair, and Joe Mirza, the president of AAU, because we are now taking Twin River Duels as a standalone girls tournament, and 30 mats at the Recplex. You guys remember being at the Recplex, not too many years ago for Junior Olympics, where we put on one of the largest freestyle tournaments in the state, and then a few years prior to that. When we had the Twin River Duels there with the boys and stuff, so we're familiar with that area. It's a great venue. Anything to add?
So that's pretty phenomenal. Right now, you see the smile on my face. We're inking contracts and sanctioning Twin Rivers as the first ever AAU National Wrestling women's event that's a standalone. We've always had to piggyback off the boys, just like we did early on with Girls State. We always piggybacked off the boys with the national tournaments, and you'll still see some of that, at Winter Nationals or folks World Folk Style Nationals in the Black Hills and Scholastic. Those haven't moved to those points where they can be transferred out. But we ran out of mat space last year. There was no doubt we ran out of mat space. We took up half the arena for the girls, which was a win for us.
Yeah.
We were already two-thirds the tournament.
We had 84 teams.
Yeah,
84 teams.
last year we had 84 teams. I have not been corrected yet by any organization. I'm sure if I was going to be, somebody would have been spouting off. But we are still the largest women's wrestling dual event in the country. We have a K8 division. We have two high school divisions. Eventually, we'll expand to another K8 division, adding a development there. Currently, we're not where we can quite yet. The high school division is still the biggest. And the high school, most people don't realize most kids don't start wrestling until middle school and high school, just across the board. This is when they hit wrestling. So those are typically our biggest divisions. Those are the athletes looking for matches. We're going to continue to support that, but it's a moment of pride for the community because now we don't need the boys on this event, and we're standing on our own 2 feet as the first sanctioned national women's wrestling event, and we're going to 30 mats year one 30 mats, and it's because how we've grown it through Iowa and through the boys divisions and develop friendships. Montana is a huge supporter, Nebraska is a huge supporter, South Dakota, Missouri, Wisconsin. We're seeing these teams. Our buddy Michael Hamilton out of Illinois, Tennessee, they'll be bringing teams. I spoke with the governor to help Indiana, our buddy Gary Meyer. They're going to be developing more teams for these travel events.
Tennessee will probably come up.
Yeah, Tennessee, Southeast. And so we're hoping, obviously Twin Rivers will attract anybody, but at the same time, it's still kind of Midwest centralized. Kansas called me, and Kansas will be up there. They haven't been to the Nationals in Iowa for a number of years.
Yep.
And so it's exciting to see that they're coming up. So we're growing. We're going to be a standalone with all women, no boys wrestling, girls wrestling, 30 mats. It's phenomenal. And we're inking it. And like you said, Joe Mirza's on board supporting us from the executive national level. Daryl Lauderdale supporting us from the executive wrestling committee. Obviously, we have Wes Creason and Teresa and Iowa supporting us. But at the end of the day, we're holding our own. It's on us. It's on our girls to show up, and we do that. We have a different concept in Iowa. So some states, and I understand the cost on travel and things, but some people, and as my sons came up, so I had two sons. Eli was probably a higher level wrestler and sought after as he was a state champ growing up, state champ in high school, college, ended up being a college wrestler. And, everybody wanted Eli, but like Ryan, my other son, he had to fight tooth and nail for a varsity spot. He was behind, multi-time state champs for a varsity spot. He had to fight tooth and nail for those opportunities. And when he got them, he would go as an alternate even and get put on a Colorado team or something like that and get those matches. So when I started with the girls, I said, I'm doing this completely different. We're going to have that top team that's going to challenge for national titles. We're going to promote that. If you want, a national title team, you need to try to get your girls on Team Iowa to push them up to the top. And then even if you're on our second team, it's going to be competitive and close to it. There's not much difference between our first and second team, just telling you. And then
our third team.
And our third team. Our third team, actually, we took losses from our third team whenever we had to wrestle. Yeah. And so as classic duels, that's how close these girls are. And so, anyways, but what I was getting back to, my other son, who benefited when he was given the opportunity, wasn't given him very many opportunities. So we did a no girl left behind policy. So if you want to wrestle, we're going to put you on the mat, and we leave nobody behind. And the girls have responded big to that, and they have more of a sense of community. I feel the girls do.
Oh yeah,
and wanting to involve their friends and everybody and being more inclusive. And so obviously you have people chasing titles, and that's great. But they also are there. We are there to develop everybody, and that's been a message that's resonated. We were able to build 30 Iowa teams last year. 30. Oh, sorry, 29. 29. We did do a different one. And so it did end up being 29. But either way, that's phenomenal. What other states doing that? What other organizations doing that? Nobody. And so, and the reason we do it is because it's not Jason Loyd doing it or just Troy Greeter. You named off all those phenomenal coaches. When we have coaching support and program support, we as a state blossom and win national titles and get everybody matches. And so, it's a different concept. It sports matches, it sports the tournaments, it sports ourselves, and it sports those girls. And that's really important. And it's really important that these girls are now going to have their first ever AU national tournament that's only for girls.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, like you said, developing. I had 10 or so girls from the Ridgeview team on Twin River Duels teams. It was really nice to have that because they got matches in the off season. They got to be on some different teams, coached by different people, which I think is super important to get coached by different people and learn some different things. I don't obviously know everything about wrestling. I'm just guy that's done doing it a while, but I want them to have that experience. I want them to have a female coach experience, and so they loved it. They had a blast. So I really like the no girl left behind policy that we have, so that's important, having our own tournament. We've got some other scout, some sponsorships that we're working with, 3 times gear.
Oh yeah.
For the last forever, 3 times gear has been doing our stuff, but they really stepped up and they're going to be our sponsor for both AAU State and Twin Rivers. So gear is going to get insane. Like, I mean, we're wearing the stuff right now that's going to ISF.
So we're gonna we put out bids this year. There were quite a few good contenders. We had Rudis putting in bids. We had Y putting in bids. Near fall, and I named some of these like near fall. Like they respected the girls and they put in a respectful bid, and they were very close. I actually just mentioned them with the executive committee whenever they were talking about rebidding Scholastic Duels, and obviously our guys Todd Fuller, you guys rock. And Sandra Lane out in Tennessee, who does the Rough House portion of that, you guys rock. So they're gonna make sure there's no uniform issues this year. We had a couple that had some stretch straps, and most of the people who had that issue contacted me. We got them some new singlets, and so they've addressed that. We're now using that gear for our international team with the ISF, and the girls have already been trying them on, and they're nice and tight up top, which is very important. But the gear itself is we're going to have multiple options for when you're purchasing. So we will provide as part of the bid, the team fee, we'll provide the screen printed shirt and shorts and girl cut singlet like we always do. But then we're going to have sublimated options that you can click on and purchase as well, for that's all designed the same to go together for that team. And so the gear that they're putting out sublimated is wonderful. They developed a female athlete short with pockets because the girls wanted pockets, probably for their phone or something. I don't know. And but that was a request. And, we're very responsive to what the girls are telling us. Hey, this is too loose. This is too tight. Hey, we want pockets. We want it. We have a shorter inseam on things because they all
down to our knees.
they don't want it down to their knees, and they always roll up on it. So we shortened up the inseam. But Todd Fuller and 3 times gear, thank you. They stepped up. If you're looking for a club this year and you're looking for team gear, hit these guys up. They don't overcharge. They make it real easy. Their gear is great. Financially, they respected the girls as a consumer and as a customer base, and so that's very important to us. One or two of the bids we got was just laughable. It wasn't respectful. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, and it kind of surprised me. And I won't put names out there, but a couple of the bids were definitely respectful and respected the girls and what was going on and them as a customer base, which is important because when we started, I won't name names, but we have somebody who provides products for the boys side, and like we couldn't even get a design from him in any kind of time after months and months. And then he basically told this operator told us and the wrestling chair for Iowa, the boys side, West Creason, that there wasn't any money in it, and that was disrespectful. And so now seeing someone like Todd Fuller and these guys, respond, and they're going to give us higher quality gear. They're going to, deliver on as an actual sponsor and help us get this done. And especially with the expansions, we're having to carry the weight for the entire facility for Redplex. We're having to, dump in all the extra money to rent out the entire convention center on top of the arena for, the amount of time. And so like having that kind of support is very important for us. And I want to say thank you 3 times a year because you guys rock. You really do.
Yeah, and we're kind of finishing up our convention here in Florida. We're gonna be down for another couple of days, just kind of having fun. And then you hop on a plane to go to Chicago,
Yep.
to then go to Bahrain.
Bahrain.
So yeah, I'll say it like normal Midwesterner, Bahrain.
Bahrain.
But you want to talk about ISF a little bit, because ISF is a really cool opportunity, International Sports Federation.
Yeah, and so I think you said something first. So convention here, so it's important to show up at leadership conferences and things. So eight years ago when I showed up, nobody knew who I was 9 years ago, and I had other people that were supposed to step up, kind of take the role that I was trying to develop with the women's chair, and nobody showed up except for me. And Bob Johnson already was trying to get me on board. I told him no for 6 months. I did. I'm sorry, but like I didn't think I thought it was something different than what I've created and made it into. But we started then and showing up for convention. And now Coach Greeter's been going with me. He's on the EC board. We've been developing better relationships for Mark Kinney with leadership on the official side. My wife, Catherine, came with me. And this is important for us to be heard on the national level. It helps everybody. And then we're able to help other people as well. We're helping out, Indiana and other people. South Carolina was talking to me. North Carolina was talking to me here, trying to get them some better connections and work some better angles. But it's really important for us and the work we're doing because we're also the number one thing on convention and agenda. Like I think Jason Loyd's on like 2/3 of it because we're constantly tweaking the code. The code still isn't quite updated from the last changes. And then like, things that are important like matching the NFHS tire and making sure these girls are safe and making sure that, they're being properly supported by structure. And we have some new structure development that's coming. It's coming to other districts and states, and that's that. It ended up being tabled until the next DC meeting, but it was good to at least be up here and for people to see women's wrestling and make some of these relationships and connections and help other people.
Yeah.
With that, like we just met with Joe Merza, the president, shaking hands, had a nice little photo op for Twin Rivers as the first standalone women's event, but then also he mentioned, Serbia next year, and we were talking with him about that. And this year we are U17. So it's the International School Summer Games. This is what it is. It's the Olympics for school kids. And people keep asking me, what is this Gymnasium?
Yeah.
And it's a weird name. I don't know. and so it's just something foreign, I guess. And so, and what it is host countries put in a bid with ISF, the International Sports Federation. And so, you see some of these things like with Pan Ams and different things. And so with this one, it's school-based kids. It's 15U one year, 17U the next. And I believe it was like $1 million bid fee or something. Don't quote me on that, please, but it was something outrageous. And people have questioned things like, my kid's going to be safe or this or that. If a country put in $1 million bid fee and are working through their government and their police and local LOCs are involved, like obviously they're going to make sure these kids are taken care of. We have like 4-star accommodations when we're heading at in Bahrain, and it's the Middle East. It's called the Vegas of the Middle East. It's the most liberal place there is in the Middle East. And by liberal, it's still ultra conservative for us, but for them, it's very liberal. Like they serve alcohol there, and then something
they don't have to wear the head.
So the ladies who are religious and are in the Muslim faith, they are still covered.
Yeah.
But
our girls won't have to wear hair covers. That was one of the questions that people asked at the very beginning. We're going to this country, we're going to have to wear hair coverings and things like that. But we don't. So that's cool. I don't get to go. I couldn't get 2 weeks off of work. So
unfortunately, John Deere laid me off, and people probably haven't seen the news with John Deere, so I didn't have to bring up all my vacation time. So they laid me off temporarily, don't offer me jobs. I'm getting unemployment, needing self-pay. I'll be back when I get back, and so that'll work. But so I'll be going to Bahrain, and I say it like that because I've been corrected like that by service people. And one of the interesting things about Bahrain is like when you have R&R, sometimes over in the Middle East, they send you to Bahrain because the one of the world's largest Navy bases outside the United States is there. So we have military, U.S. military and servicemen there, and a large population of them. So that makes us feel a lot safer and happy about that. But yeah, we're taking more girls than we ever have. We had 33 girls. We're taking Coach Bias is supposed to be gone. Unfortunately, there was a problem with some vacation time at the end. And then uh, Jess Brenton from Wyoming. She is phenomenal. She wrestled in college. She shows up at Twin Rivers. They show up to classic duels. The boys, I don't think, brought any teams this year for the first time.
I think they brought 4
that I can ever remember. Oh yeah, and Jess and them still brought AAU girl teams, and so that's why she ended up on our radar. She obviously has some freestyle background, and she's doing great things for women's wrestling and AU without the boys. And I need more of that, and we need more of that as a community. So she's going to be going. We have Rob Pilcher from Nebraska. He's the ISF coordinator. We have kids from Connecticut, New York, the Florida, Iowa. We have some girls, and so we have girls from all over the country, and they have an opportunity for this ISF opportunity for international competition. And people don't understand how important and cool that is. My son wrestled over in Kosovo in a peace tournament, celebrating an anniversary after they had that Bosnian war and all that. And like even Bill Clinton, and they had high delegates there at the games and events for that, where they had other sports and things. But my son was able to wrestle in that. That's experience he'll have his whole life, and it's really cool. These kids will probably never travel to the Middle East and Bahrain again. And last year they went to Brazil. The year before they went to Normandy, France. And then when we land in April in Serbia, it's going to be a cool trip, Serbia. But man, you did me wrong because it's in April. We have to immediately start forming the team for 15U going to Serbia in April 4th through 14th. And that'll be the same time as Twin Rivers. So if you make that team, you won't be at Twin Rivers, but I'll forgive you. And then unfortunately that means also I can't go because I can't miss Twin Rivers. Like there's probably like some people who can get away with it. I'm not one. So I'll have to be there. But Serbia, we'll look to try to plug Vallis back in from Grandview, one of the more successful college programs in the country, and so women's wrestling wise. And so we'll try to get Scrappy Doo going with us again.
Yeah.
And heading that delegation up for the girls. We're going to again try to shoot for multiple teams of girls because they love us. They love our organization. They love our participation. There was a comment back from the ISF that they're having to chase people down for visas and passports, and they're not having to do any of that with us. We have a wonderful staffer named Chris Fox who works in the national office. I know people say he don't answer the phone, but he will call you back or email back, and if not, like hit up your district person, and go through them because he's a super busy guy, and so trying to just get a hold of Chris and all the balls he's juggling nonstop is pretty tough. I have a few extra phone numbers for him where I have some workarounds and might call Jennifer or somebody who works with him or somebody else. But Chris Fox nailed it out of the park. Rob Pilcher nailed it out of the park. ISF was bragging about how well our organization's put together going there. And so we'll be flying out of Chicago. We'll be doing competition, but also very interesting for ISF in this event are the cultural days, and they're mandatory. So we don't have a choice, and they do have to be there the whole time. We've talked to them, hey, can we just show up for the competition? They're like, no, you got to come and you got to do the cultural stuff. And that I know Monster loved it. She bragged about it. And then I think her and Bella gave me the most feedback as far as when on the France trip. And like it was a hashtag crepe life. They loved the crepes in France. And then I know Biscaglia loved Brazil and Miller loved Brazil. And we got Miller going again with us, Bahrain. I don't. It should probably be too old for 15U for Serbia.
But that gives some more people opportunities. So
yeah.
When you get back and things get going, if you're interested in a international trip, it's all based on it. There's not a
Nomination.
there's not a qualifier yet. We're working on qualifiers, but there wouldn't be time to get a qualifier in. So it's nominations. So nominate yourself. You never know. I mean, they'll take as many girls as we can. So
Yeah, the expense. So the athletes cover most of the expense, not all of it. AU picks up a chunk of it. It's still an expensive trip, but if your communities around you, they're pretty good about helping you flip the bill. And then we help sponsor some Iowa girls every year a little bit.
yeah,
This year we doubled up. We didn't have as many Iowa girls going, and so we really went to bat and threw down some good cash to help those girls go. But you nominate, you fill out the paperwork, and then I myself, Tennessee, Montana, Rob Pilcher out of Nebraska, and then the national chair, we're all on the nomination committee, and we go through line by line, what the qualifications. You put in your school qualifications, you put in your AU accolades, your USA or whoever else accolades, and then we make a decision and select a team, and we do weigh out AU participation. So, if you're interested, wrestle some AAU stuff. It's out there. You can do it. So it does help you. And when we come down to the nitty gritty, hey, this girl, is a Fargo place winner, and this girl, went, 5-2 or something at Fargo, but did all the AAU tournaments. That gave her some weight, so like, we kind of weigh that out.
yeah, yeah. It's important, because it's the organization's putting the money up, so they want to make sure they're participants from there. We probably hit most of the subjects and topics we wanted to. We have to get ready to go to Disney for the not so scary. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but we got to go see Mickey Mouse in costume and shake hands and get some candy at Disney. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
At least Kat and I are excited about that. Jason might just have to hold her person as we go on rides. But
yeah, people on these trips know I enjoy things like beach day and stuff, and the parks are just okay to me. But most of the meetings that we had are done, and a lot of the handshaking and kissing babies and making relationships are done at the convention. So we're gonna go hit some parks and like have some fun.
all right. Well, thanks a lot, Jason. I'm sure we'll talk more. Been very informative. So I hopefully people use this as maybe planning their year out for wrestling and getting some information that needed to get out there.
Yeah, AAU women's wrestling growing. We're doing phenomenal things. We're standing on our 2 feet, and I want to thank everybody for the support.